Nothing like gravy out of a cast iron pan over a fire. Doesn't get much better than that. Ooh, look at that. I'm getting hungry. Hello, I'm Paul, and this is Paul Plays with Fire. Welcome. You know, I was out walking the dog the other day, and some fella comes up to me and says, "Hey, you got sausage over there, don't you? You got taters? When you gonna make bangers and mash?" Which I thought was a mighty odd thing to say, since we're in the middle of the middleest of the United States, and bangers and mash is a British dish. But we're fortunate enough here that we have not just one, but two different restaurants in town that serve very, very good bangers and mash. So I'm going to try it at home, and I'm going to try it on an open fire. Let's get busy. We're going to start off with the potatoes because they take the longest. We don't have to put too much thought into this. Just cut them into some decent sized chunks so that they cook a little faster. We're going to leave the peels on today because I like them that way. Even though these are russets, and that's wrong for some people. I don't care. We already have the water going on the fire, because that also takes a while. I should say, I have some new cast iron that I got. Went to an estate sale. Picked up a few items here and there. Several pieces of Le Creuset, of all things. You're probably not supposed to use it on the fire, but this stuff has been so well used and so well loved that it doesn't owe anybody anything, and I'm going to try it on the fire, and I'll just be careful with it. And then I also got a couple pieces of antique cast iron, a Griswold, a Griswold, and another one. Now we're adding our potatoes to the water that is hopefully boiling. It's looking pretty good. Oops. That's hot. And now we'll let that cook until they're done. I've heard you cannot overcook potatoes for mashed potatoes. There's no such thing as too soft. Next, we're going to prepare the bangers, or the sausages. In this case, I'm just using kielbasa, Polish sausage, as it's known. And I'm sure that's blasphemy to some people, but it's what I had in the fridge. And we're just going to cut them lengthwise. And what this does is it maximizes the contact surface with the pan, so that we get that good Maillard reaction against the maximum amount of meat that we can. And we'll just flop those right down into a cast iron pan and be done with it. Next up, we're going to add our bangers to the cast iron skillet that we've had warming up. And we're going to cook them slowly. We don't want them to get too hot. And we just want them to get a certain level of doneness and brown all the way around, and to leave some stuff behind in the pan for the gravy. That should be good. Next, we'll be preparing the onions and peppers that we'll be using for the onion gravy. So we're simply going to cut up an onion and leave it nice and long. Leave the pieces nice and long because they look good in the gravy that way. Then the pepper. In researching this video, I looked up the history of bangers and mash. And apparently the term bangers came about because when times got tough in World War II and meat got a little scarce, they started using the little fillers, especially water, in their sausages to make the meat stretch. And those sausages, when cooked, would sometimes explode, so they picked up the name bangers. And mash, of course, is just mashed potatoes, or mashies as I like to call them. Let's see how we're doing. Oh, those are looking good. Yeah, those are coming along. Oh, that's perfect. Okay, those bangers are looking pretty good. Yep, those are done. Those are really done. Yep, perfect. We don't want to get them too far done, or they'll get too far done. And I think welding glove, by the way, it's valuable around cast iron and fire. Yep. Look at those potatoes. Yeah, those potatoes are done too. Okay, time to move on. I'm going to move this off the fire for the time being since there's nothing in it. Now we're going to make some gravy. Move our pan back onto the fire on a medium heat. And we're going to add a stick of butter to it. And let that melt, not burn. We'll move that back here out of the way. Want to get some of those nice juices from the sausages, the bangers, all up in here. And as soon as we do, as soon as we deglaze that a little bit and melt the butter, so the butter's turning just a nice dark color, it'll add most of the onions and pepper. We're not going to add them all because I want a little bit of not so completely obliterated peppers and onions to finish off the gravy. Most of the onion, about half the pepper. Let's just put it that way. Now cook that at a nice slow saute, just enough to get those nice and well, we'll know when it's the right color. Okay, those onions have softened to my liking. I'm sure there are some out there that think I burned it. I may have. Now comes the tricky part. We're going to mix in about 2 tablespoons of flour and make a roux. And we're just going to whisk the crap out of it so that we don't make dumplings. Not that I don't like dumplings, That's just not what we're doing today. Ah, looks good. Almost looks like I know what I'm doing. Let that go till the flour cooks and the roux darkens a bit. Looks good. Okay. Well, I'd say it's beyond peanut butter. It's almost to mahogany, just in terms of roux color. Look at that dark color in there. That's very nice. And we've added the rest of the green peppers and onions, the little bit we had left, just so they can get a little bit cooked before we move on to the next step. But I think we're there. So we're going to add in some beef broth and just today we're making gravy. Look at that. Yum. Looks really good. Nothing like gravy out of a cast iron pan over a fire. Doesn't get much better than that. Okay, we're going to do a couple things. We're going to add some Bragg's liquid aminos, which is like soy sauce, but it's gluten-free. Not that I have a problem with gluten, but it is a nice way of adding some salt and some umami. Love the color. Oh, that's good. Oh, yum, that's good. Yummy. I don't think I need anything. I don't think that needs salt. I don't think that needs pepper. But it does need some bangers. We're in luck, we got those. Float those in there to get them all warmed up and let them get to know each other. Better get some peas on. They don't need much, they just need to be warmed up a little bit. We're going to put those mashies back on too. Yeah, looks like we're pretty close to eating. Ooh, look at that. I'm getting hungry. Okay, look at this, what we got. Bangers and mash. Oh, those potatoes look hot and delicious. Big pile of them somewhere. Couple bangers on top of the potatoes. And then a lot of that gravy everywhere. By the way, I add a splash of Dijon mustard to the gravy at the end, just to give it some kick. And to freshen it up, as they say, just to freshen it up. And then some peas. Because that's traditional. Every place I've ever had bangers and mash, they had peas on the side. Okay, here we go. Bangers and mash. Come on, get there. Oh my God, that's good. Now that is comfort food. And the peas just somehow magically go with it. Oh, boy, that is so good. Wow, thanks for showing up. This has been Paul Plays with Fire, and we made bangers and mash today, so we had a good time. Come back next time.